Okay, so I will start with the recap then, if you like.
Oui, monsieur.
Okay, being the events of Wednesday, 13 September 1893. Afternoon. Everett begs off for the afternoon, saying he has other business to attend to. At lunchtime, Vyacheslav, Edmund, and James proceed to the dining car, while Daniel and Salvador stay behind to examine the Myers compartment. In the dining car, our investigators find Metcalf at a table with Mrs. Myers, who is once again weeping, and Kapok is with them. Eileen McGregor approaches Vyacheslav and Edmund and asks to sit with them. While discussing the Armenian question, Miss McGregor confides that their answers prove they are sensitive gentlemen, and asks if they will help her confront Mrs. Myers, whom she is terribly worried about. Edmund and Vyacheslav agree to meet Miss McGregor in the salon at 2 p.m., the time when Mrs. Myers is usually there alone. They also have a brief and tense encounter with Metcalf, who openly calls them fools for dabbling in affairs they know nothing about. Meanwhile, Daniel successfully picks the lock to the Myers compartment. Upon entering the door, he can see that the room is entirely darkened, and his senses are assaulted with a familiar chill and stench, the same he experienced at the tenement on Sunday night. Daniel enters the compartment, but then two things happen simultaneously. The door slams shut behind him, and two Fez shadows form and attack him. Daniel makes it to the window and is able to cast the drapes aside, letting in the afternoon sunlight and dispersing the creatures, but not before receiving two life-threatening lacerations from the Fez shadows. In the light, Daniel is revolted to find Mr. Myers, or what's left of him, lying on his bunk. He appears to be in the same state as poor Puck before he killed Dr. Hobbs. Unlike Puck, Mr. Myers is dressed as an English gentleman. He appears to be catatonic and unresponsive. Searching the compartment, Daniel discovers that Mr. Myers' pillow is being propped up by something underneath. He discovers a large tome underneath the pillow. Daniel replaces the book with a similar-sized object and asks Salvador to fetch Edmund from the dining car. Salvador runs to the dining car to get Edmund. Edmund, upon entering the Myers compartment, is hit with all the implications pertaining to the blood-red fez and promptly faints, hitting his head on the way down. Frantically dragging the unconscious Edmund from the Myers compartment, Salvador and the severely wounded Daniel have just started on their way to Edmund's compartment when Henri appears and immediately helps return Edmund to his compartment and runs to get a doctor to patch up Daniel. Daniel rather violently awakens Edmund and nearly breaks his nose in the process. After the doctor finishes stitching up Daniel, Edmund tries to read the Whispering Fez, but is unable to. It is also 2 o'clock and time to meet Miss McGregor. The party leaves James with Daniel and proceeds to the salon. Inside the salon, Vyacheslav distracts Kapok, whilst Edmund and Salvador interview the weeping Mrs. Myers along with Miss McGregor. They learn that Mrs. Myers was on honeymoon with her husband, and they ran into Metcalf in Paris. Mr. Myers, who has an interest in the occult, quickly came under the influence of Metcalf and volunteered to wear the blood-red fez. Immediately after that, he fell ill, and Metcalf said it's due to Mr. Myers' great sensitivity and that he will be fine. Metcalf is now en route to Constantinople, where he says his associates can cure Mr. Myers. The party is left with much to think about before Baron von Hoffler boards the train in Vienna. The time is now 3 o'clock p.m. So we're going to cut back to Daniel and Salvador's room then, and you've returned back, and you see that Everett has reappeared back to the mix, having concluded whatever business he needed to do, send telegrams off to wherever.
Howdy, y'all.
Welcome
Saw
back.
Daniel had a little bit of a rough time.
To put it lightly.
Poor kid. He's all of like 5 years older than me or something. Poor little kid.
And Daniel right now, we'll say, is passed out. You know, he drank half a bottle of rum
Mm-hmm. Like if the injuries didn't knock him out, the alcohol did.
Yeah.
The blood loss, yeah.
So Edmund, I know that we are. I know that we are supposed to show Mrs. Myers and her husband. And what is our consensus on when we would like to do that?
Well, my friend, we need to find a time when Mrs. Myers can get away from Metcalf. She had mentioned a time in the afternoon where she had a little bit of freedom when she's normally in the salon car, as we met her today at 2 o'clock, that she might be able to make her way back to the room. Metcalf may possibly at that time be in the dining car, so it might be a good time for us to make our move and have Henri and his porters ready when she confronts her husband and sees him in his current condition.
Now, what impression was she under as far as what status her husband was in?
He's ill.
Well, I believe
That's
she
all
thinks
she knows.
he's ill. He's ill. She's, I believe, been in the same cabin with him, but the drapes have been closed and he's been in the darkness. I don't think she's seen him for what he is becoming.
Well, the shock is liable to kill her.
Yes.
Well,
Or at least make her... I mean, what exactly are we going to tell her? Just that he's under some sort of disease, or are we actually going to show her what this fizz is doing to him?
Well, it's
I think
hard to explain. And that is why I think if we're going to do this, we need to just rip the Band-Aid off and do it today. Because I'm afraid if we wait too much longer, what if that thing wakes up?
well,
I mean, we'd have a very serious problem on our hands when we open the door to show her husband, and then her husband rips her face off. Much like the last one did to the doctor.
here's the thing, though. Like, considering that Metcalf has brought him into the train, chances are, like, he's like, I don't know. He seemed very unresponsive, whereas Poke didn't seem like, you know, unresponsive when we first saw him. Maybe he's trying to get him to Constantinople, you know, like smuggling a foot soldier back into his stronghold. I mean, as is, I don't think he's planning on revealing that creature in the middle of the train right now as we're about to hit Austria. I mean, he just has no chance of getting away with that if he does it right in the middle of transit.
there's so little that we know about this. We don't know what this thing... We don't know how it was created. We don't know what kind of a timetable he's working on. Vyacheslav, I would agree with you that I think we need to act sooner rather than later. I think the problem is going to be getting Miss Myers away from Metcalf and out from underneath his thumb, and also not having him in the room as well when we make our move. Do you have any suggestions? Were you thinking of a certain time, dinner tonight, or?
I think dinner would be the best time, because isn't that her time away from Metcalf and her time to spend with her husband? Or perhaps...
On one hand, yes. But the question is, will there be enough sunlight by then?
What season is it, Ben?
September 13th.
Sun hasn't quite changed over yet.
No, I
but
would
at the
say
same
late
time-
summer. So I would say it is daylight probably to about 9 p.m. Safe guess. Does that sound about right?
8 p.m. More 8 p.m. Like, in here's 9 p.m. because we go like 1 hour advance to where we're supposed to. Like, the main issue is that this being Central Europe, like, the movies tend to get quite right that Central Europe tends to be a more darker place than when you go to the Mediterranean shores. And it depends on whether, you know, like, these days, like, a sunny day or it's an overcast day. Like, yeah, what's the weather right now? Like, is it
The weather's-
more like overcast?
No, the weather's been amazing since you left London. You finally left all the rain behind.
Then the question is, where does the sun set in relation to the train? Because if the sun is setting on the other side of it, then, you know, like, there's not really going to be, like, much light to go by anyway.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. So you are heading almost perfectly due east at this point. James
The main
James
question
kind of
here is,
like
though-
shuffles his feet now and kind of like clears his throat and says, "Far be it for me to intrude on your discussion, gentlemen, but if these things move as fast as they appear to move, and they took out Daniel, who's the fastest man I've ever seen, what hope do we possibly have to be able to, if this thing comes awake, as you're saying, and it isn't destroyed by the light?
No,
What hope
that's
do we
the
have in
thing.
heaven to..."
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we all brought the guns aboard this train for a reason, correct?
And not just that. I mean, like the creature that Mr. Myers is, like for what we saw, it was very sluggish. Like so long as we have light, we should be safe from the shades. And then so long as we keep our distance from Mr. Myers, we can just keep shooting at it until it goes down. It is resistant to bullets, but not immune. You just have to apply enough of them.
I don't know that we want to be firing off dozens of rounds in the middle of the Orient Express.
Well,
If we
I will
have to,
say
we
that-
will have evidence of what we are shooting at.
Shadows.
No,
No.
the thing on the bed. Is that not believable enough?
I mean, you saw that even Scotland Yard was like freaked out when they saw that thing. So, which I know that thing had a name. It's just that may he rest in peace. But yes, still that's why I said we should definitely get Henri in on the plan. That way, him and his porters can see it, and then he is the authority here.
Mr. McRae, you have not
As he's got a
spoken much.
mouthful of pretzel.
Mr. McRae, you've not said much during this conversation. I think as a man who is quite accustomed to doing investigations, as I understand, maybe this is something that you would like to put input on, yes?
I'm just trying to catch up a little bit. Been out of the loop for a couple hours. What's happened?
Well, essentially we're
well-
deciding whether or not we're going to show this woman her poor dying or already deceased husband, which is now this monstrous creature, and we're trying to decide whether or not it is better to do it tonight or tomorrow night.
Well,
We do.
this is kind of beyond my purview, to be perfectly honest. I haven't had to deal with anything this strange in all my life.
Well, Edmund, I must say, after hearing about how much of a toll this situation had on you, are you sure you're up to going back into that room? I mean, you passed out, man. That's not a good
Yes.
sign.
To tell you the truth, gentlemen, I'm not feeling myself. This has been a rough few days for me. I'm a little bit out of sorts. It may be best if I stay back a little bit.
Perhaps maybe
you should be the
between
one.
staff.
Maybe you should be the one that speaks with Henri. I mean, after all, like you did definitely seem to hate it well with him. So that way you avoid
perhaps,
seeing that.
Perhaps Salvador, maybe you go with him. You are a fast talker. You could pretty much talk your way out of any situation, and if Edmund gets into a spot of trouble with Mencaf, we have to make sure we have some kind of presence there. And
Indeed.
if there's only one of us, there's something suspicious going on.
Agreed.
I
Yes,
don't
I
want to
can definitely
volunteer
accompany
you
him.
just for you. I mean, if you want to go with us to the room, come with us to the room. But
Salvador,
I'm
your
not
company would be much appreciated.
Yeah, and as is, well, I think I could take it. I'd rather not see that kind of creatures again so soon.
Nor would I, my friend. If I never see another one of those things, it would be too soon.
Well, we can only hope. If we do see one, though, at least we know that we can kill them. For all that's worth.
So what exactly is the goal here going back into that room? What are we trying to accomplish?
Basically give Henri the authority to actually enter that room and, see for himself, like, what's going on. Like, as is, he cannot inspect the room by himself because, he doesn't have the authority. But
so our plan is kind of sketchy, is to expose his wife to whatever he's becoming.
yes,
So that she is less likely to believe Minkef and less likely to fall under his snare, which she may already be, and this could be a trap.
Now, we've seen in the dining car, though, that she is anything but content with her companionship, with her relationship with this Mencalf fella, right? It's not like she's an adoring worshiper or anything like that.
But according to Salvador, and what Salvador says about this Mencalf's ability to force his way into your mind, into your thoughts, it could all be a play.
That's true. I can't argue that.
She did not seem to be, like, mentally controlled at that point. Of course, we do not know what has happened between then and now.
It could just be concern for her husband's well-being, and she might not suspect Mencalf of anything, but I'm not so sure. She did not look happy to be in his presence in that dining car. Now, my point being is that do we want to cause an international incident here on this train? Now, our goal here is to get this fez to the Professor Demir in Constantinople, am I right? Mm-hmm. And now if we have some sort of incident here where we force this Mencalf's hand, God knows what's going to go down one way or the other, but this train will probably stop. And we might get kicked off or at worst killed or something. I don't know, but we ain't going to get to Constantinople. That's for damn sure. I'm just worried that if we force the hand now, that there's going to be something major going down and we aren't going to be able to handle it.
Well, if we don't force the hand, then there could also be something major going down on the train. If that creature wakes up, you don't want to be around it, Mr. McRae. This thing rips off faces. Its tongue is longer than my arms, and I have long arms.
Well, maybe it could be something where this Mencalf doesn't want to create some sort of incident either until he gets to Constantinople, because we know he wants to do that as well, right? Mm-hmm. What if we could control the situation and we actually try to take Mr. Myers away, protect him in some sort of room of our own or something like?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It is not my room. If you want to keep that creature in your room, Mr. McRae, by all means, please do so.
At least we could study it or something. I'm not really. I mean, if we leave it there,
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you, friend, but trust me, there's no way you can convince, I think, any of us in this crew to keep this thing in our rooms. I mean, you have not seen it yet, Mr. You have not seen it yet, Mr. McRae, which is another reason why we need to go and we need to take care of this, because you need to see this. Because you don't really believe. You have not seen it yet. You don't really believe.
Well, and besides, if we expose this creature, worst that could happen would be that, all of Europe would be displeased at Turkey. And I mean, how is that a bad thing?
True.
Well, there's also the matter of the other fezes. The fez that's on Mr. Myers, fez that's on Mencalf. I think what we're doing here is trying to return this fez to have it destroyed, yes? Mm-hmm. What's the point of destroying this one fez if we leave the other two to walk off the train at any point? Mm-hmm. Who's to say they can't disembark at any stop along the way?
Mm-hmm. Not to mention that, do we even know how many of these fezzes exist? There are already 2.
3 that we're certain of.
3 even.
Yeah, the one that we have, Mencalf's and Myers, and possibly 2 others. Mr. Mencalf's 2 associates that we have not met yet.
Mm-hmm. Now, why can't we just ask Henri if he's seen any other folks with fezzes on?
Well, we certainly can.
Mm-hmm. That is a good idea.
Regardless, I think we need to get Henri back here as quickly as possible and discuss with him what we would like to have him do.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible, perhaps. Sorry, you go ahead, Salvador. Please speak.
Oh no, I was just going to say that at least both Henri and Mrs. Myers have been warned that, like, of course we cannot explain it as is, but I did tell them both that Mencaf is much too persuasive and that they should make an active effort at not listening to him. So there is that.
It's also possible, Salvador, that maybe we could have Henri keep Mencaf busy in the dining car, or is it more important that he sees Mr. Myers?
I would say it's more important that he himself sees Mr. Myers. As is, like, Henri is the leader of the porters, so ultimately he wields more authority than one would expect. It's best to ensure that the person of highest authority in this cart gets to see exactly what's going on. If it was just a porter, he could just say that it was a drunk one. Plus, I'd rather ensure that we see Henri so that we can make sure that he's not been mentally dominated. If we send him to face Mencaf, who knows? Maybe he will be swayed. And that would be a risk we could not take, because then we lose our main ally.
Very well. Vyacheslav grabs his revolver out of his bag, loads it, and kind of tucks it in the back of his pants, and says, "Well, whoever needs to go speak with Henri, go speak with Henri. I am going to mentally prepare myself for what will likely be a traumatizing experience." And he grabs out his father's notebook and just starts thumbing through it, the one that also has the Apocrypha of the Fez in it.
Wait, there is one more thing that we need to talk about. The Baron. He joins us in this train tonight. Well, this evening.
Yeah, and my hope is that he can shed some light on this new book that we've found that we've been unable to glean any knowledge from. He may be able to provide us more information. If this book is... Were we able to determine if it is actually the Whispering Fez?
By
it's written in
circumstantial
Persian.
Evidence, yes.
Okay. So this book may provide us more information on what these Fezes are capable of. It may give us more details on what Mr. Myers is becoming. Do we delay for a few hours and speak to him and see if he can tell us anything?
I mean, as is, I do remember that we did tell, she did say that she would do it tomorrow. I mean, if now we went to talk with her again, like, maybe Mencaf would smell something even fishier.
Well, I don't think we should have any direct contact with her at this point. I think anything that we plan on doing, we've already agreed to a basic plan with her. Any information that we pass to her, we do through the porters. We can write a note and have the porters pass it to her, so we're not seen discussing anything with her in public, or even going into a room in private and talking to her. We need to be careful of this Mencaf fellow.
Yes, but if Mencaf is attentive enough, and he always seems to have that giant following her, like, a porter handing her a note would no doubt be seen, no matter how discreet. And if he sees someone handing a note to Mrs. Myers, I would say that at that point he will be in maximum alert. As is, for the time being, his interaction with us, like, Mencaf seemed very sure of himself, and he seems to have everything figured out. If we make anything too overt as of now, he will probably adjust the plan to keep that illusion of control over it. Maybe best to make him think that he has everything under control, and then strike when he least expects it.
Gentlemen, the more I think about this plan, the less convinced I am that we need to do it tonight. Do we know what our ultimate goal is here with exposing Mr. Myers to Henri? What are we expecting Henri to do? Remove Mencaf from the train? and therefore removing one of the fezzes.
It's a possibility.
I mean, as is.
And then what do we do? Continue on the train, or do we follow Menkaf and try and remove the fez from him?
Best way to put it is Menkaf seems to be the brain behind it. So if we delay him and he remain, if we arrive to Constantinople before he does, at least we'll have like a window of time in which we can meet the Mir, and Menkaf's men won't be as coordinated. Like he won't not be there to direct them personally.
I like the idea of delaying Menkaf because with the kind of influence that he has, he will be right back on this train if we get him kicked off. It will only, if he's not on this train, he'll be on the next one through. Mm-hmm. Or he'll find some other way there.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, though. Like, even if we just get a few days of advantage on him, that would already be big. Like, at the very least, we could head immediately for Professor Demir on that day where he's not there. At which point, maybe we can formulate a plan before he can devise the contingencies.
At this point in time, you now hear a muffled but what would have been a very loud thump. And you hear raised voices yelling from some other compartment.
Vyacheslav stands up, slams his book closed.
Mm-hmm. I stand up as well. I holster my pistol, like my concealed holster. A revolver.
I'll do the same thing.
Vyacheslav has his in the back of his pants.
Well, I already have my Derringer on me, so I'll just stand up and pick up my cane and poke my head out in the hallway, I guess.
Yeah, everyone just jumps up. James Ambrose jumps up too, and he's got his fists ready.
Cracks his knuckles.
Yep. Pulls out his brass knuckles, puts them on.
Oh boy.
So you say you crack the door open?
Yeah, I'll peek out in the hallway.
Okay, so you peek out in the hallway and you can hear a loud male voice, muffled, yelling something indistinct, and you can hear a woman's voice, distraught, replying.
I think I will, since they are shouting, I think it's safe for us to approach, at a brisk pace without being heard. So.
Well, do we even know which cabin it's coming from?
Not yet, not until you investigate.
I am
curious,
investigating.
Would a listen check or something maybe give some more clue as to maybe what language is being spoken?
Yes. You can tell it's probably English.
Okay.
But you can't make out. You can only hear that one voice is very angry and another voice, the woman's voice, is upset and yelling back.
Are you sure about that? Look at the degree of success that I got.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it. Until you walk out into the hall, you're really not going to be able to tell.
Oh yeah, no, immediately after hearing the scream, if he slightly opens the door, I just, fully open it and, I already start heading there at a brisk pace.
So, you hear the sound, it's coming from the Myers compartment.
Oh boy.
And you can't make out the nature of the argument because it seemed whatever yelling had happened, it has ended. So, you approach the door to kind of listen in, and the door just flies open. And Menkaf, is about to storm out, and he sees you, and he looks at you, and he says, "I see you. Hang on a second."
Oh shit!
He says,
I
see you, Salvador Fernandez de Cordoba. I know what you stole from me, and I will have it back. And then he goes, brushes right past you and goes to his room and slams the door shut.
My response will just be, of course you see me, I'm standing here. Bye.
What did you steal from him?
The book, the Whispering Fez book.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was under Mr. Myers' pillow. It was being used to prop his head up, and Daniel slipped it out.
Gotcha.
I imagine the rest of us, all of our heads are leaned out of the door frame, seeing this happen.
Yeah, exactly. Very Three Stooges-esque.
And like I mean, like I would say that like considering the time period we're at, and like all the optimistic values of that time still have not died to World War One. I will just make a show of chivalry and be like, Mr. Mayers, are you alright?
Well, the door's closed.
Yeah, but I'm gonna like
He left
knock,
and,
like
and
it.
slammed the door behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as is, like we just heard a man screaming at a woman, and the woman was very distraught. So it would make sense for a gentleman of the time to to like worry about what has happened to.
Right, the door's locked.
Well, that ain't good. And I at this point, I will just turn towards the rest of the group, like like look at them, and I approach and I'm like, well, if she's not being mentally controlled, either he's locked her under threat, or he's put a vest on her head. I have not been able to see her. But there are no screams, there is no sobbing, no nothing. And he knows we have the book. Expect a funny night.
Well, who would he have expected to have the book, Salvador? I mean, I'm sorry, but honestly, who else on this train is going to take his book?
Oh,
The pesky investigators and their dog.
Wait, I just had the idea.
Oh,
What if we plant this book? Or wait, do we want to keep the book, or maybe we plant the book on someone else? Or the Russians?
No, I don't think we should let go of this book.
well, I will say one thing. Now that you brought this idea up, I do think I know something. What if we told Henri to keep this book safe for us? Like, as is, it's clear that he knows, Menkav knows that we have the book, and no doubt he will make a move at some point. As is, considering that he has mental control abilities, like he could totally have, K-Pok storm in and, well, inflict
Not a bad
some
idea.
pain upon us.
And
Why
then
don't we
just,
ask if they've got some sort of safe for valuables?
Yes, I
Yeah.
also believe that maybe it is perhaps that Henri stays in a whole different
Very
compartment of the train, right?
Yeah, I mean, none of the staff lives in any or will sleep in any of the sleeper cars. That's for real people.
But we
They're
should
not-
probably
they're not real people.
we should ask about the safe. I think this has led to a good plan here. Instead of leaving it under whoever's floorboard it is, that Daniel's floorboard, much better, I think, to keep it under lock and key.
So let's call for Henri. Is there like a bell to pull or something? How do we get a hold of this guy?
Yeah, actually, how do we just get a hold of Henri?
We just yell out the window or down the hallway.
Yeah.
I mean, usually the way it's been is we just like usually the way that it's gone is we say his name and suddenly he appears.
Or is it
So
sort of
this
like the little
usually-
ropes? The little ropes on like buses that kind of like let the driver know when you want to stop. Or is there like a little rope you
I
pull
don't-
that dings a
probably.
bell or something?
No, it's like Downton
I don't
Abbey,
know.
just kind of ding ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there are call ropes in Orient Express, but I mean, he's usually fussing about something somewhere.
Or we could get a
So-
porter that we see to go get Henri,
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, usually wherever the next event is going to be, for example, they're preparing for dinner. Henri's going to be there making sure every single napkin is in the correct place and the forks are laid out correctly, that there are no fingerprints on the glassware, that everything is perfect.
All right.
I gotta say, I have the theory that Henri used to serve on the Foreign Legion.
Yeah.
Like,
Algiers.
for some reason, I just get this feeling that this guy is actually like an ex-military dude.
So can we go to the dining car and assume that Henri is preparing for dinner? It's like
Yeah,
what?
no
4:30?
one to stop you from walking the train.
Yeah, although we should make sure that we get it before, before dinner, just to make sure that, like, the book's
Right.
away by the time, we'll have to leave our room, because otherwise, like, nothing would stop Menka from just sending one of his cronies to steal the book again.
Well, whatever okay, so I step out into the hallway. As soon as I see any sort of staff at all, I'll approach that staff and ask them if they could tell me or bring Henri to me.
Oui, monsieur. What is your preference?
Well, is he nearby?
I believe he is in the dining car.
Very well. Well, if he isn't too busy, we'd love for him to come back to Mr. De Cordoba's cabin. Maybe have a little quick chat with us. Otherwise, if he's too preoccupied, we're more than happy to go find him ourselves.
No. Don't trouble yourself.
Time is of the essence here, my young man. So if you could just skedaddle right away, that'd be fantastic. Thanks so much.
Hop to it, Bill, hop. So I say after a few minutes you hear a soft knock at the door. And yeah, Monsieur, Henri is here. I may be of service.
Henri, come on in. We got to talk about some stuff.
He opens the door and he sees everybody like hanging out in the room.
We're all like,
He doesn't seem too surprised by it.
Mm-hmm.
Oui, monsieur.
Well, first we wanted to know, does the Orient Express have like a safe keeping method?
But of course we have a safe.
Can you tell us where it is and how it's protected? And
That doesn't sound suspicious at all.
well, we have some valuables that I'm sure a lot of your clientele here on the Orient Express wants to keep safe from prying eyes, and just want to know exactly what kind of measures you take for your clientele.
I can guarantee that it is perfectly safe in the safe.
Thus the name.
Do you have an item that you wish to place in the safe?
Why,
Yes.
yes, we do.
In fact, we
Indeed.
have several. And
Would I fit in
Vyacheslav looks he doesn't have a roommate, does he, Daniel? We could put the Fez in there.
Daniel is sharing a room with Salvador, isn't he?
No, that's Vyacheslav.
No, I'm sharing a room with. Yeah.
Yeah, so Daniel doesn't have.
I'm of the mind that all of our valuables here aren't going to be any safer outside of this, whatever Henri's got to offer. So I think we should put everything that we value in there. Frankly,
Thinking that we put the fizz that is in Daniel's room, we put it in the safe, and as well as the book. And everyone just looks at Henri.
Henri, that'd be all right with you? Got an item of clothing, a book here.
But of course, we keep all manner of jewelry, clothing, rare books.
That's excellent.
Bric-a-brac.
Now, it's of the utmost importance that these items make it all the way to Constantinople. So, not that we don't trust you, Henri, but would it be all right if we escorted the items to the safe and just saw them put in there, just so we could ease our minds?
But of course.
At the same time, I would argue about that. Henri, did you by any chance hear about the discussion that apparently Menkav had just a moment ago with Mrs. Myers?
Monsieur, I did not. I was in the dining car preparing for dinner.
Well, I didn't hear what exactly did they say. All I'll say is Menkav sounded very angry, and Mrs. Myers sounded very distressed.
So, par for the course then, Sal, right? That's the default
Well, if
situation.
Monsieur Mencalf is upset, I will try not to weep too hard.
Curious.
The problem is, and I didn't hear, like, after he closed the door and such, like, I didn't, like, at first I was hearing her being distraught, and after that just silence, right?
Oh, you cut out?
Like-
No.
I
he
was
said
saying that,
right.
like, after Yeah, after the door was closed, like I didn't hear, like Mrs. Mayer's either weeping or being distraught or anything like that, right? Like I didn't hear like a soul, so to speak.
Henri knows just the thing. But I will check up on Mrs. Myers.
Ben, how distracted would Henri be by everyone else in the room?
In what way?
Like,
Are you
would
trying
he
to
be
pick his
paying
pocket?
it?
Like,
No. Essentially, what I want to do is very quickly and unnoticeably jot down Vyacheslav's name in the book as sort of a proof of ownership.
This book
in
belongs
case the Lost Fez book.
yeah, that
Whispering
would be
Fez.
difficult because that book is like this wide. It's folio sized. It's long and it's like this thick. It's not a book you can discreetly just pull out,
It's a
open its
grimoire.
ancient pages. Yeah.
Okay,
And
at the same
write in
time, though,
pencil in this thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
if
I don't
I may,
think, like, I
Henri,
would care much.
if I may, Henri, I am going to go over to Daniel's room to collect a few more things that will be going into the safe. Edwin, would you come with me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm actually going to take the Book of the Lost Fez with me, and he and I are going to walk over to Daniel's room, and I'm going to have Edmund sign his name in it somewhere so that it is proof of ownership. In case Mencalf says, "Oh, this book is mine," it's like, actually, no, it's not.
Good idea.
And in
So
the meantime,
maybe
like,
on the inside of the front cover or something, we could just put our name.
like in the meantime, I will, I guess, update, like Henri, because as is, like, he's our main ally in this trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, like, I will, of course, like, following his same style, so to speak, I will say. So, I believe, like, I'm just giving him this look of, I know, but, I have to pretend that I don't. Just like, you have to pretend that he has to pretend that he doesn't. I believe that Mrs. Mayers Mr. Mayers might be in a worse condition than we thought.
I would assume this has something to do with your friend falling down this afternoon at lunchtime, and your other friend's little cuts. And the items that you watched to place in the safe, they did not come from Monsieur Mayer's room, now did they?
Of course not. They just happen to be recently in our possession.
Pardonnez-moi, but I must ask these things, you understand?
Of course, I understand. I will say, though, at this point, Monsieur Henri, well, I do not know at this point if that plan will go accordingly, because, well, I just say that I am well aware of what Mencalf is able to do, which is why I'm not sure if Mrs. Myers tomorrow would do something that would give you authority to inspect her room, but if you have men nearby, between today and tomorrow, nearby this carriage, make sure that they are men with combat experience. Preferably men that have seen the worst of the world. Because men of, let's say, weaker minds would probably not have a good time.
Holy shit,
think
Sal,
I
you're
know
scaring me too.
Poor Henri.
I think I know just the men. So you think this Mencalf, Monsieur Mencalf, you think he's going to try something tomorrow?
Well, more than try something tomorrow.
What is tomorrow in French? Demain, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Amen.
You're going to try something demain?
Deman, like DEMAN.
Well,
AMAIN,
Yeah, I know how it's spelled.
yeah. Deman.
well, the best way to put it is what has happened to Mr. Mayers. We have seen it happen before, and it's something that would make quite a few people scream in terror. At least people that are not attuned to seeing grisly sights.
So
We're
he is
fairly sure
very
that-
sick. He is very sick, as you say.
Not just sick, but let's just say that, well, if he ever wakes up, it will be in a very, very aggressive mood.
You won't like
Like I
me
said,
when I'm in a
we've
bad
seen what
mood.
he's had
I love how like vague. you
once
are about
before.
it.
We've seen what has happened to him once before. One man died. That's the other reason why I say that you should probably have ex-military be the ones that are nearby.
I will have my best men on hand tomorrow.
We're also under the impression that he might have some other companions with him on the train. We haven't been able to spot them though. Have you you know anything about this? Like, probably two other gentlemen. Probably look quite capable. Probably wearing fezzes.
I think I know the gentleman that you are referring to. Menkov came on board with 5 tickets. 2 of them have been staying in sleeping car number 2. They pretty much keep to themselves, though.
5 okay, so yeah, that adds up. Now, we don't want to. We're not going to visit any harm upon these gentlemen, but I think it'd behoove us all to keep an eye on them. You mind giving us the information of what car they're in? Oh, you told us that. Never mind.
Or more like, what have they been up to? Have they just stayed in the room all this time?
Well, monsieur, they've kept a much lower profile than you have on the Strand so far.
You know what
No
country I'm from?
fires. No mysterious accidents in the night. I would say they've been the model passengers thus far.
Again, I
Their
apologize for
paperwork
the
checks
call.
out.
All right, and
Now, monsieur, don't get me wrong. I agree. This Menkaf fellow is probably up to no good, but I have to protect the shrine first.
Well, let me ask you this, Henri. What contingencies does the train have in place for people who are gravely ill?
We will stop the shrine. Well, how gravely ill?
I mean, is it a question of there's someone on board? Is there an infirmary of sorts? Or is it something where you just have to pull into the next closest station and drop them off with it?
Yeah, so there is a doctor on board. He already cared for Daniel previously.
Ah.
But Henri will say, as long as there's no infectious disease, we'll let the sick passenger off at the next station.
Well, does the train have the authority that, given certain knowledge, that there is the possibility of an infectious disease or someone that might be on the verge of death, that you would be able to, with legal authority, enter into a room and take the person away or handle the situation in some manner?
I don't know that I have this authority, monsieur. If I assume we're talking about the Myers. We've discussed this before. Unless Mrs. Myers gives me permission, I cannot enter the room.
Understood. Well, that kind of seals the deal as far as our plan then.
That it does.
You're not planning anything dangerous. I hope not.
No,
On my
we are
shrine
not.
again.
We just want to make Mrs. Myers fully aware of what the situation is with her husband.
I
And what would
appreciate
happen? My question is, what would happen if both if both travelers, because I assume that room is Mr. and Mrs. Mayers, right? What would happen if both passengers lock themselves for the rest of the trip within that one compartment? Like, would by policy, if nobody heard anything from them, have to check?
I have seen stranger things on this strand.
Well, if you're right, I will have to tip my hat off to you.
I've seen that movie too. It was a good one. Hitchcock.
Well, one last thing that you should keep in mind. Considering that you seem surprisingly nonplussed by all that we've told to you, and at the same time your reaction does seem to indicate that you actually take us seriously, I think you'll appreciate this bit of advice. Make sure that both you and all of your men always have a light source nearby. They can access easily and readily.
I will consider that your advice, monsieur. And are you ready to go to the SAF now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I'm more than happy to
Yeah,
to escort
Vyacheslav would have, and Edmund, I guess, would have come back after having Edmund sign the book and also picking up the fez from Daniel's room.
Did you write like a fake inscription from your mother on the inside?
Yeah,
To my
perfect.
dearest
Exactly.
Edmund.
To my dearest Edmund.
Exactly.
Happy,
May the
happy
adventures within
25th
inspire you.
birthday. Yeah.
When Vyacheslav comes back into the room, he's holding the box that has the fez in it, and he looks very seriously at Henri before he hands it over and says, "Whatever you do, do not open this box. Out of curiosity, out of examination, whatever thing that you have going on, don't look at it. Just put it in the safe and don't think about it. Okay?"
Don't push the big red shiny
I
button.
will say though.
Yeah, exactly. Now that you've told him not to.
Yeah, no, like, like at that point, I will say, of course, I understand that if by policy, like once Vyacheslav says that, I will say, of course, we also understand that if by policy any item that has to be put in a safe has to be inspected beforehand, make sure nobody wears it.
I have to inspect
and if
this.
someone has to, and if someone has to look at it, try to make it shorter than 5 seconds.
Oh,
Like, as in, do we
another
hear the
thing.
whispering, even despite the box? Like, do we hear the whispering, like, coming from inside the box? Like,
No, not while it's in the box.
okay.
Another thing, Henri. Keep your conversations with Menkef and his fellow compatriots to a minimum. Right, Salvador?
And, like, at this point, Salo just remembering that, like, like, you see him letting out a sign, like, just giving that look of, that was a close experience. Yes, I can attest to that.
So, messieurs, I must ask, and pardon me if I'm being rude, it's not my intention, but are you some form of law enforcement? Is that why you're investigating this man, Menkaf? This Menkaf fellow?
We come from all walks of life there, Henri. I myself is a... Nope,
Oh.
go ahead. Please.
Oh no, I was just gonna point at Everett and say, he is law enforcement, and as for the rest of us, well, most of them are experts in certain matters.
Concerned citizens, Henri.
Say no more. I would say at this point, while you're discussing it, Daniel, you basically drifted off to sleep after the surgery and the half bottle of rum that you drank, and you just are hearing this murmuring, kind of like interrupting your dreams, and then you like roll over, and everyone is in your room at this point with Henri. Henri has the box with the fez in it, and with the book that you took on top of it, and he's kind of holding all these items, and they're just talking to him. That's the scene in which you wake up. That's the tableau.
Yeah, he has the fez from your room, the fez that you stole out of
We didn't steal
Menkaf's
it.
room.
We took the book.
Was the only thing we took.
I didn't mean the fez, I meant the book. Yeah, the book that you took out of Menkaf's room. Basically all of our stuff pertaining, except for the Apocrypha of the fez. I'm not
We're
giving
gonna
it
have
back.
to put it in a safe for us.
You see Everett's like smiling face, like just looming right over you all of a sudden. Hey, welcome back there, Danny boy. Oh, we lost you there for a second. He yanks you up and claps you on the back.
I kind of recoiled a little bit. What are you all doing here?
We're concerned for your health, my friend.
Next stage of the plan there, Danny boy. Let's catch you up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So Henri says, if you no longer need me, messieurs, I will express these items into the safe.
Thank you, monsieur. We appreciate your discretion in this matter.
So he leaves, and then James turns to you, Edmund, and says, Edmund, shall I?
You shall.
And then he goes and he follows to make sure that the items make it to the safe.
Pulls out his gun and kills us all. Edmund steals the fez.
Mercy buck-ups, Henry. All right, so now we need to talk to this Mrs. Myers, right? Just a matter of separating her from Mencalf so we can have a little chat, right?
Yeah, do you want to bring Shane up to speed as to what's transpired so far?
What's the plan?
Well, Mencalf knows that we have the book.
Oh shit, what happened?
He confronted Salvador in the hallway as he was exiting the room after we heard some noises coming out of there. Mr. Myers' room. He came storming out and ran into Salvador and said, I know what you've done, I know what you took. So we figured with everything we've got going on and running in and out of the rooms, we didn't think it was the best idea to just leave this stuff laying around. So we've engaged Henri to put these items in the safe for us to make sure that they are well kept while we do whatever it is that we're doing. I'm still not 100% sure.
We're gonna kill Mr. Myers?
No, hopefully save Mr. Myers.
How are we gonna save him?
I don't think we're going to, but at least expose his situation to Mrs. Myers and possibly alert Henri and the staff to what's going on to him, and possibly get Mencalf removed from the train. To at least delay him for a few days while we continue on to Constantinople.
Yep.
Ben, can I also go back before Henri leaves? And I want to let him know that we are expecting a friend whose name is von Hoffler to join us in Vienna, and that we expect every courtesy to be extended to him in the same way that you've extended it to us as far as the situation on board the train.
Is this the Baron von Hoffler?
It is indeed.
We are already expecting him.
Very good.
We'll make sure that every possible courtesy is afforded the Baron.
If you can pass along a message to him as soon as he gets himself situated and comfortable aboard the train that we would like to talk to him at his earliest convenience, that would be fantastic.
Oui, monsieur, it'll be my pleasure.
Mercy buck-ups, Henri.
Much appreciated. Also, I think, my friend, it's called merci beaucoup.
That's what I said. Mercy oh, yeah, okay, sure.
So, I would say now it's nearing dinner time at this stage.
My favorite time.
So, what would you like to do in the remaining hour before the train stops at Vienna?
Is it supposed to stop at Vienna before we have dinner?
It is going to stop at Vienna after dinner.
After dinner, okay.
Well, honestly, before going for dinner, I think the first thing that Salvador will do will be go get a cigarette, because, while he's definitely doing better than at least Edmund, he's still very much rattled.
I'll join you, old man.
I got
Much
myself.
appreciated.
There he is, handsome feather.
Oh, I completely forgot to get Fantasy Grounds up.
Whoops.
How dare you?
That would probably help, wouldn't it?
Oh, I was wondering why you weren't in the game.
There we go. Now it's up.
Honestly, my curiosity, Salvador's probably going to ask Everett, what is that thing that that you sniff?
Well, I'll tell you, I used to smoke cigarillos as long as the day. I can't come up with a good simile right now, but I used to smoke cigarettes a lot. And I realized, I actually haven't been role-playing this, but it's actually in my notes that he has a chronic shortness of breath. and I found that just couldn't breathe right is all, so I had to switch to something else. Still gave me the same kick. And this stuff is pretty good, actually. You're more than welcome to some. Just shove it up your nose.
You know what?
Is it cocaine?
Don't mind if I do, and if he offers, he's definitely gonna try.
Absolutely. He gives you the box.
And you're like, he's gonna do like a small dose, you know, like not be, you know, like not be greedy with it.
No, help yourself. Just care. There's more where that came from.
Yeah, he's gonna try like.
Now, this particular tobacco I got from some sort of vendor in Paris. I can't really speak to its quality. It ain't no Virginia tobacco, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yes, when it comes to tobacco, American tobacco is just unbeatable.
You said the right words there, Sal.
We can be friends now.
So,
I mean,
is there anything?
like to? Oh, sorry. I was just going
No,
to say
it's
that to
okay.
be fair, Spain, like that was one of the main, you know, like imports that Spain made from the New World. Like once we found what tobacco was about, we were just like,
Tobacco
okay,
and sugar.
we're bringing this shit back to Europe.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, totally. That and sugar, right?
Oh yeah.
So, is there anything anyone wants to get done between now and Vienna?
Edmund's going to return to his room and just spend a little quiet time, have a nip of wine, maybe smoke a couple of cigarettes and just relax for a little bit. He's had a bit of a rough day and is feeling not quite himself right now. Needs to kind of recompose himself.
Make sure you're
take a nap.
properly. Nigel has to make sure you're properly attired as well.
Of course. Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any
evening.
other way.
Has to be dressed.
Oh yeah.
So that was a day since our last session, right? A night has gone by or something?
No,
no,
I don't
no. How
even
much
think
time?
So.
I don't know how much.
Hours?
4 hours.
Oh, 4 hours. Okay.
We're flying here.
Yep, it's still the same afternoon. So when you guys left off, it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is now approaching 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
I see. Okay.
The train is about to pick up the Baron.
I see.
And since you said that dinner would be before, you know, like getting there proper, you know, I think Salvador's gonna actually go get some chow.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So we fast forward to dinner?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's something anyone specifically wants to accomplish, we can jump right to the to Vienna.
No, I think I'm good.
Yep. Vienna. Music changes. You see a quick montage of all the cool shit that comes from Vienna.
Alrighty, so the train stops at Vienna.
Oh, Vienna.
One quick thing. During dinner time, did we see, you know, Mrs. Mayers?
You did not. She did not come to the car for dinner.
Did
Uh-oh.
Menkaf do?
Neither did Menkaf.
It can come up a bit then.
What about K-Pop?
No, Nil. Nobody came to dinner. Okay.
How's that?
Maybe a little.
That's good.
There you go. That's good.
Lower?
Just
Yeah,
down,
it's-
down a touch.
Okay. Shane,
How's
you
that?
say that nobody came here, but I'd say that is actually, you know, telling in itself.
Definitely.
I mean, considering that Menkaf has like his mind domination powers and shit, like who's to tell that he doesn't just hijack the train and we have to fight off him and a zombified crew?
That'd be a good
Well,
time.
I think
That'd be
he's
epic.
probably waiting
I only have 6 bullets,
maybe
though.
to leave our rooms. Very possible
What was
he's
that?
going to try and strike and wait for us to head off to dinner and maybe raid our rooms and see if he can find the book.
Which would
Guess
be
what?
awesome. 'cause
He ain't
they're not
finding
there.
shit.
Right.
Suck it, Menkaf.
And Vyacheslav brings his messenger bag with him everywhere, so the Apocrypha of the Fez would be with him anyways.
And
That's
it's, you know,
cheating.
like,
Not
who in
cheating.
here has gone to dinner then, and who has stayed in the room?
I think
I guess
Edmund's
that's-
probably stayed in the room. I don't think he's going out.
And I was sleepy. So.
Well, Vyacheslav probably would have stayed in the room as well.
So only Salvador and did Everett come to dinner as well? Or?
I came to dinner.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
the train's rolling into the station at nighttime after dinner, correct?
Yeah.
No, the train rolls into the first station in Vienna at 5:50.
Which is during dinner.
Yeah, or towards the tail end of dinner. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to set the scene as like where we all are when von Hoffler is about to board the train, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
One
would
other
say that
question
you
that I have to make is
probably-
when we go. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say you're probably eating dinner when the train starts slowing down to pull into the station.
Okay, cool.
One question that I have to make, because at this point, like, I'm just paranoia skyrocketing, but how many of the, how many of the people in the dining room, like, give us looks when Everett and I go have dinner?
I mean, the
do we feel
Russians
like
are in
we-
there.
Yeah, but does it feel like someone's observing us or something like that?
You would have to make a roll for that.
You're just
Spot hidden?
paranoid.
Spot hidden, yeah.
And I'm just gonna put it like this: in the Warhammer 40k role plays, there is a paranoia skill. In there, it's actually a skill. I always pick it. No, I spot nothing.
There we go.
Nice.
Extreme success. You do not see anything out of the ordinary.
All right.
Okay,
Not
good.
from the engines.
He hasn't started proselytizing yet. That's good.
All right, I'd like to when the train pulls into the station, I kind of want to poke my head. I want to be at the entrance to one of the cars, kind of poke my head out so that I can kind of look up and down the platform and just kind of take a gander at everyone who's mostly coming onto the train.
Yeah.
And maybe if there's something of interest of people coming off, but mostly, I'm obviously looking for von Hoffler, but I expect he'll find us if Henri does his job. But I just want to see if there's any other shady characters, or especially fez wearers. As I totally racially profile all these people coming onto the train.
Filthy
Wait,
fez
don't worry, like,
people.
You're just playing your character how it's supposed to be played. It's all right.
Besides, like, remember, in that century, like, social profiling was completely acceptable.
Right, yes, yeah. Want to make sure I'm placing it in context of the time. That I would never do that.
So, you see someone who must be the Baron boarding, because he has, many bags that are being carried in. He's dressed like
Royal medal on.
he's got the full like triple waistcoat thing going on.
Does he have a retinue?
The red. He does not have anyone going on, but you do see him arguing with a young woman on the platform. And
Is it that reporter lady?
it is not the reporter lady. This is someone else, and she is a young woman. Appears to be in her 20s. She has long blonde hair. And you're not leaving the train. You're just sticking your head out. You said, right?
Yeah, I've got I'm on the entranceway, with one foot on the steps.
Listening is a skill, I believe. So if you want to try that, or if you can think of a skill that you think is comparable.
She yelled out like, "What are you saying?"
It would probably be listen, unless he's good at like, I don't know, like reading lips.
Well, I'm pretty good with psychology too. If I'm trying to look, either way, it's probably basically the same. I'll do listen. Here we go.
I mean, the question here will be like whether he's good at, like speaking German or not.
I got a hard success.
Yeah, you can absolutely hear. So you can tell they're having some kind of argument. Do you speak?
I do not. I only speak English.
Viennese? Okay. You do hear her call him Papa,
Okay.
and when you hear that, you pretty much figure out this must be his daughter. And she
is the
apparently
argument-
doesn't.
Go ahead.
Apparently, she does not want him to board the train, but he's boarding anyway.
Now, does he look angry? Is it sort of like he's sort of trying to mollify her?
Yeah, more like the latter.
Gotcha.
Very much, from his body language, he looks like he's saying I'll be fine, and she's kind of upset, but then she kind of just shrugs her shoulders and leaves when she realizes he's going to go on the train anyway.
Okay.
I mean,
Anyone else have notes?
Not boarding the train, no.
Okay. And not off the train either. No one we know getting off.
No one is disembarking that you know.
Okay. I'll use my. Not that it would probably matter, but I'll use my Pinkerton training to like sort of lock her image into my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's rude.
goes in this backpack. Yeah.
She is now my prisoner in my mind.
That's right.
You can't just lock on to people like that.
Well, he just did.
Well, Von Hoffler's aboard. Looks like he's leaving his kid behind.
Well, that may be good then. Since I don't imagine that he would have shared with his child what he's actually going to help us with.
Hopefully. All right, well, let's see if Henri makes the formal introductions. Probably be within the hour, I hope. Hopefully this Von Hoffler guy isn't too full of himself or taking too long to get comfortable.
Don't worry.
He's a baron,
I
of
can
course he is.
Don't worry, I can
I'm sure
handle
what you
people of
expected.
his standing.
He's an Austrian baron, though, so hopefully it's all about efficiency.
See, as is, I'm the son of a duke, so, by standing, we're roughly on the same standing. At least so long as he doesn't know who I am.
All right, so go ahead.
You don't have any family in Parliament, right, Salvador?
Oh, I mean, at that time, if his father is not stuck in politics, obviously on the conservative, side of the parliament, then it's either, in this regard, what would fit you better? Military officer, a politician, or, diplomat, landowner. Those are, the main choices. In that regard, I decided,
Okay.
I didn't really think what exactly his father would dedicate himself to. And because here in Spain, the nobles have usually just been, a bunch of leeches that have just, fed from public money. So.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, let's go with him being a politician, yeah. Staying in the parliament to make sure that he ensures the interests of the nobility.
Okay, so you might know a little bit more about the Baron just based off his reputation then.
Oh. What would I know of him?
You would know that he is very intelligent, and you would know that he seems to be very capable of what he does, and he is known for not suffering fools, and doesn't really
Guess
have
that means
much
you're out of
time.
luck there, Edmund.
He can be very aloof and does
Shane, I'm
not.
so happy you joined us.
Yeah, he kind of has a short fuse, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I will actually update Everett about it. Well, the best way to put it is, for an Austrian noble, he's a very smart man. And, well, the issue is that not only is he smart, he knows it. So,
All right.
let's just say that he's not particularly fond of people that do not prove themselves their equals intellectually.
I like him already.
So after about 20 minutes, the next wave of people come in to eat that had boarded at Vienna, and one of them appears to be remarkable in that she has short jet black hair, a lot of makeup, and she's wearing a purple, I'm going to say kimono, but I don't know if you would actually know what a kimono is. It's a,
Komodo dragon?
in 1893, I don't think these people would know what a kimono is. but
Very
that's
likely.
what she's wearing, and has like a gold dragon going up the side of it.
Is she
She
Asian?
comes in. It's hard to tell. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Why are you talking to me? Don't worry about. Don't. Okay. Thank you. I'm getting my history checked by a 15-year-old.
What is she saying? That it's actually a kipao or?
I don't care.
Actually, that is
She's not in the game. Whatever she says doesn't hold any weight here.
The main question is, does she look Chinese or Japanese?
Dirty
You
knees.
can't tell. Yeah, you cannot
would
tell.
you dare
Anyway,
to
she
even
is
know
among
the
the people that come in.
I mean, I do
But-
have to make a point there, like as a funny
Coming with
story,
anybody?
like roughly within that time period, if not a bit earlier,
Say-
a community of Japanese installed themselves in Andalusia. And like there were like 500 Japanese in there for I think mines or something like that. Like they came to make business into Spain. So there is the chance that he might be able to to like tell.
Yeah, China was open
He
by that
can't.
time, right? And
Not just that.
I would say that he has not met any personally at this stage.
sure.
So you can't tell. It's some exotic Far Eastern location. Anyway, that's beside the point. She's just one of the people that comes in, but directly behind her is the Baron.
Mhm.
And he's seated at his own. It's like a table that would seat 6, but he's seated at it, himself.
Mhm.
And so he's eating, and I didn't lay out the map for it. I'm not going to bother. We'll say that Salvador is facing the same way the Baron is facing, opposite him.
All right, then.
He kind
Let's
of
see.
he looks at you kind of curiously, but doesn't really pay too much attention. Let's say he observes you the perfect amount of time.
And like I will, like in keeping with both the manners and such, like I will, like tip my head, but give him like like this slight smirk, like kind of saying, "I'm on your side," Because as is we know that this guy knows about the fences and such, right? So I kind of like give him the visual clue of, I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not wink.
So-
That would be terribly rude.
Yeah. So a couple minutes after that, Henri enters the dining car, and he kind of discreetly bends over and whispers in the Baron's ear. And the Baron kind of like gives a start, and he notices you again, stands up, just walks straight over to your table.
And again,
Gentlemen?
following protocol, I actually will stand up as well, because like while he's a baron, whereas my guy's father is a duke, he is like third son, so in standing, like be like kind of equal. Maybe Salvador will be slightly lower.
Who's all here at the table? Is it
I
just
think
Sal?
it's just you and Salvador.
Okay, just the two of us. All right.
Like I will like give a slight inclination of the head, sign of respect, and then like offer my hand.
Hey, Your
Baron
Majesty.
von Hoffler.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to meet you both.
Pleasure
Here's
is
our
ours.
McCrae.
Yes, Mr. McCrae, I've heard all about you. We have no time to lose. Where is it?
Well,
Where's
as it is
what?
now we have. And like my response will be as like since I gave him my hand and such, then like I will lean forward for a moment to like make it discreet and such. Okay, for the time being, we have it on a safe. It is best not discuss these things publicly. We do not know who's on our side.
I agree completely. Where can we talk? Come to my stateroom.
Very
Be
well.
there in 10 minutes. Assemble all of your friends.
We shall do so.
So I'm gonna ask Everett to make a psychology roll.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Oh, just missed it.
That's close. Yeah.
Could push it.
Fuck it. I'm gonna also try psychology. No.
What's the push
Do you want to
again?
push it?
So you have to
Pushes-
come up with a rationale for pushing it. Like you re-roll it, but you have to give like why you think you can re-roll it or should re-roll.
And you also
something
have
like
to succeed at one stage higher than it would have normally taken to succeed, right?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Oh.
Just regular success. But there has to be some way that the failure could negatively affect you. So you could be like if you click on the individual skills, they'll give you like ideas. Like this one says you could be unsubtle in asking highly personal, intimate, or downright direct questions. You know, you may potentially offend him.
Right.
Or something along those lines.
Well, I'll make the argument that I can push because nature to try to read everybody that I come into contact with. So when I can't get a read on them immediately, I dig a little deeper. Is that cool?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, here I go. Can't do it.
pretty good rolls though. That was pretty close.
Yeah, very close. All right, so I probably
there's you notice that there's something that's kind of like ticking away at the back of your mind, but you can't put your finger on it.
I'd probably say that out loud. There's something about you that tickles the back of my mind.
He's like,
and I can't quite place it.
beg your pardon.
Excuse
Never
me.
mind. It'll come to me, Baron. Don't worry about it. We'll see you in 10 minutes.
And you know,
I've
I
never
will
tickled
just
the back of your mind.
And
What does that even mean?
intervene at that point and say, "Oh,
Pull the
excuse
glove
him."
off.
It's American idioms.
You know, just excuse him. It's
With
American.
the yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay.
All right, Your Majesty. See you soon.
Oh my God, he's the ancestor of Groover.
Hans Gruber.
Yup. And yeah, I'd say let's go fetch everyone.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho.
You actually don't have to, because Henri's already alerted them to the Baron's presence and told them that he is in the dining car. So you kind of run into each other in one of the cars between the sleeper cars.
Okay, we fill him in. We get to be in a
I mean,
stateroom.
as he said
This'll be
that we'd
nice.
have to go to his stateroom. So, you know, like, we cannot quite yet talk with him, so to speak, I think.
I'm not sure bringing the Fez out and about is the best course of action, but
We're not.
We're
We're
not
just gonna go
safe.
out. We're just gonna give him a debrief.
Yep.
In 10 minutes.
that's probably wise then.
All right.
Which in German terms, this actually means that we'll have to be there at 9 minutes 55 seconds sharp.
Yes. Neither too early nor too late.
He's got a Swiss pocket watch. He's just like,
Yeah, just looking at him.
Timing it.
Just shaking his head at us.
he has two. One that he, it checks, the other one to make sure it's accurate.
Yeah. Okay, fast forward to that time.
Yep, so you go to the time. You can knock on the door. How are you going to approach?
Just like kick the door down.
No.
Door opens,
Kick the door down, cast
and
fireball.
the Baron opens his door and he says, I see you all here. Come in, come in.
Mhm.
Can I offer you anything to drink?
Why, yes.
So his stateroom is like the size of half the train car, I would say. It's like
It's big.
octuple-sized room. Yeah, it ain't
Nice.
a compartment.
I let out
Yeah.
a low whistle. Like, woo-wee. Ain't this something?
Yes, I had it specially converted for when I travel on the Orient Express. I detest train travel.
I mean, I've seen
Little-
ranchers that had smaller acreage than this.
Vyacheslav kind of says under his breath, "He's a little much, if you ask me."
And like at this point, I guess I'll just step in with, like
an
with
elbow into your ribs.
The Baron
Don't
says,
know if the proletariat will.
the
Now,
Baron
if you
says, "My
guys
friend,
remember, back when Dr. Smith was giving me, or was giving us our debrief, Vyacheslav had pulled out a list, and when he mentioned von Hoffler, clearly marked off something of what looked like a list, which you could have only have assumed was like a list of people who probably need to die for for being capitalist pigs. So
Yeah.
So it's like the red list.
You
Pretty much.
understand why there was a red scare, right? It's for shit like that. That's why there was a red scare.
Anyway, when you mutter the thing about the room being a little much, he says, "So, in my experience, little people are the ones that crave little things. Have a seat."
I kind of like clench my ribs, and I still hurting from the wound, and I find a seat relatively nearby.
So tell me, you have the fez, yes?
Mhm.
Oh, great. And did you get the book? That is the most important part of this puzzle.
depends on which book you're talking about.
The book, man. Do you have the book or not?
Which
Yes,
book?
we have the book.
We do
We have
the
two
books.
books.
Okay. Then please have a seat. I will share my researches with you, and then we will look at the book together.
Yeah, any light you can shed on this fucked up situation would be fantastic there, Baron.
So, which book is he actually
I am an
talking about,
expert in
Ben?
these matters. I'm sorry?
Which book is he actually? Is he talking about Apocrypha of the Fez?
You
or is he
actually
talking
don't
about,
know?
Or is he talking about the
The
Lost
Whispering
Fez?
Fez.
No.
His assumption is that you guys have already secured the Fez and the Whispering Fez, the book.
And we have.
Like,
The
in his
question that I
mind,
have
this
is,
was not like a possibility, a
we-
failure.
We didn't
He's
bring
just
it with
fully
us, though.
expecting you guys would have got on the train, you would have secured what needs to be done, you're going to hand it to him so he can study it and figure out what's going on to get this thing
I mean,
evil dealt with.
do we know that he speaks Persian? Like, that is the main question.
Yeah, he does, right? Pretty sure he
Well,
does.
no one
do
has
we know?
no one has had that yet. Anyway, he pulls out his stuff. He's like very excited that you
Mhm.
have succeeded, and he takes a duffel and he opens it up and he pulls out all these papers and he plops them down, and he says, "Okay, this is all I've researched so far." Which one of you is the scholar? Not
And
all
at
of you are
least
scholars.
Mr. Gore.
Yeah, I will point to Vyacheslav and Gore.
It would be
Well,
us.
you can feel
scholars.
Those
You can
guys.
feel free to go through my researches if you wish. And in the meanwhile, I would like to see the Fez and the book.
Gentlemen,
go
I'll let you
find
deal with
Henri.
that. Vyacheslav and I will make a corner here for ourselves and go through this paperwork while you deal with the Fez and the Whispering Fez.
I kind of glance at Everett. Why don't you come with us? 2 guns are better than 1, and this is quite the package
Yeah.
we'll be escorting.
We'll have a little chat on the way down to the safe here.
The
'Cause
Baron-
there are some
the Baron-
unforeseen. So what?
I was going to say the Baron is all for that plan. He says, yes, you can't keep it too safe.
You will need
Can't
Henri,
keep the
though.
book too
Make
safe.
sure you grab him on the way.
All right, so follow Sal and Danny Boy and I over here. We'll,
This Henri fellow, he seems to know a lot of what's going on. Do you trust him?
we trust him. You can trust him too.
I'm not
Is
so.
there
I'm not
something-
so sure how much I trust people that are from Belgium.
Well, as is, I will say that the
French.
man definitely.
French wannabes.
As is, something tells me that that man has probably seen combat. It would explain why he's so punctual and so polite and so efficient at his job.
Is it true that there's a Russian count on board the train?
One.
It is very true.
I mean, do we know, like, is it only one to count and the other ones are like, like...
The Countess, and the guy she's screwing.
Who of us knows that the guy, the guy screwing
That
the
would
count's
be-
wife?
Vyacheslav,
You don't know.
but the rest of us don't know.
Vyacheslav has made guesses about it, but doesn't know anything
Hey,
for certain.
that's all we need to know. We just need
Exactly.
to know.
Like, you're a
Vyacheslav,
gossip.
when
This
he
is the
asks
rule
that
of gossip.
question, Vyacheslav speaks up and says, there are some Russian counts on board. They are, in my experience, quite unsavory people, but, they are Maybe too wealthy for their own good.
They're horrid people.
And then remembering in whose presence he's in front of and that he's
unstable.
Remembering in whose presence he's in front of and that he's already messed up, he would say, and when I say that they're too rich for their own good, what I mean is that you shouldn't give a bunch of culturalist Vikings a lot of money to do whatever they want with.
I agree. Cheers. Here, here.
Here, here, yes.
And I will I will go with Everett and Daniel to
go find Henri.
Yeah.
Now, Your Majesty, there is I don't know if you were aware of this, but a gentleman named Mencalf is on, and he got some ill designs.
I know all about Mencalf. Mencalf is now a minor player in all this. As long as we have the book, we'll be fine.
Do you know about the other Fez?
Yeah, there are more Fezes in play here, Van Hoffler.
Yes. As is, Mencalf has brought on board a man that he managed to deceive into wedding one of the Fezes.
And now he's become a creature of...
Of course. Very clever on his part.
And that is not all. The shadows. I kind of wince as I mention the shadows and my wounds flare up.
Yeah, we'd love to know
what
dangerous
work, man. You didn't sign up for a stroll through the park, did you?
No.
I'm usually a little bit more stealthy in my strolls through the park.
There is one more thing that I must ask.
Julian has mentioned your particular skill set to me.
You do not seem surprised at all, neither about the shadows, nor the monsters that the Fezes turn people into. I assume then that you're familiar with the fact that Mencalf is able to exert mental control?
Mencalf has the most minor occult powers. What he knows couldn't even fill a thimble in terms of occult knowledge. I, on the other hand...
Well... You have my curiosity, but now I gotta say I am intrigued. Can you give us the short version, the too late did not read version of what the other gentlemen are taking a read to right now? What do we need to know about this thing? Because we're expecting violence to erupt tonight.
Well, I mean, basically, you're going through his stuff, his notes, Edmund and Vyacheslav, and it looks like he came to the same conclusions that you have. So he basically has assembled his own Apocrypha of the Fez in much the same way that you did. Probably from the same sources as well. So the Whispering Fez is really what he needs to study to try and figure out how to keep it from evil hands.
Yeah, Vyacheslav would actually pull out his book and say, "It's very kind of you to have assembled all of these conclusions and notes and whatnot," and then he kind of slams the book down on the table. "But it seems like we both came to the same conclusion, and your notes put us no farther ahead as probably our notes will put you no farther ahead, so..."
So he looks at you and he's kind of surprised, and he says, so we see that Julius picked his associates well then. I'm impressed that you came to the same conclusion that I did.
Well, I was a professor in Russia at one point in my life.
And what were you a professor of?
Economics and philosophy.
Liberal
More so
bullshit.
The philosophy of economics. My father, on the other hand, was a professor he was a professor of archaeology, but his major focus was Middle Eastern occults. That's how he met my mother in Egypt.
And what is your father's name?
Let me look that up real quick, because I have it on here. His name was Grigory Alexandrovich Grekov.
I know your father, or I know of him, I should say.
Oh.
He is well known in occult circles.
Was well known.
At least. Oh, he has passed.
Yes, it seems that his studies took his mind where places it could not return from. He sadly hung himself in the major asylum in Moscow.
It's an occupational hazard, I'm afraid.
Well, I never believed him until about 4 days ago.
You can say that again.
In the meantime, would it have given us time to Everett, Daniel, and me to go fetch the book and the fez?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And yeah, like
So
I
you're able
imagine
to
that
get
by
it.
that point.
I'm sorry, again.
Just in case, despite the risk, I will, like once we get it and like we're with it, with out of sight of everyone, I will check for one moment if the fez is still there, and then like 1 second, and then close it again, just enough to make sure that it's there.
Yeah, that's
It
still
is,
there.
right?
It is.
Ding dong,
Yeah,
sanity
okay,
check.
good. I don't think I spent enough time. I just like, whoop. And yeah, we bring them both items to the group.
Okay. So, you come back to the room with no incident. Where is the Baron?
Also, how lit is the Baron's room once we come back?
It's pretty well lit.
Okay, good.
And we're not
Just
running
in case
anything
those-
that moves shadowy on the way back.
Yeah, exactly. Like check behind the curtains and such places where there will be shadows in case one of them is hiding there. Like I'm actually gonna check there.
Fuck those things.
As I said, paranoia is a talent, not a disease.
So you bring the hat back, or the fez, I should say, and
the book.
And the book. He lifts the top off the book and just kind of looks at the fez, picks it up, gives it a brief examination, puts it back down,
Puts it on.
says, "And now the book." He sits down, he opens it up, and he just starts kind of like pouring through it. What do you want to do while he is looking through the book? Because it's going to take hours.
I mean, honestly,
here
I
and
will
wait.
actually. I mean, in my case, I'm first gonna look like. Does the Baron have places where all of us could sleep? That is a question I'm gonna ask you first.
Probably not. As big as the car is, it's still just a single sleeper.
Yeah, but like couches and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like a living room.
Edmund will fetch a porter and maybe have them bring some food for everyone here in the.
Yeah, I'm a little
so
hungry.
We can all kind of settle in and talk
Now-
and discuss and wait for him to do his thing. I don't.
Yeah, and I will
Well,
ask the Baron. And like actually, what? Fuck it. Like since I'm being like the noble little shit here, I might as well dress him the noble way and be like, Herr Hoffler. Do you think it would be a good idea to keep at least one of our ranks stay in the room with you?
Oh yes, of course. Just let me concentrate so I can get this studying done.
We'll have no problem with me in the room. I have my own books I can read up on.
I would most welcome your presence. Maybe you can help me through some of the trickier passages. Have you had a look at the book yet?
A brief look, but I don't read Persian. I read Arabic.
So do I. So we will struggle through it together then.
Sounds like a plan. Stan. Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Stanislav.
If he annoys you, I will call him Russian Bear again, and he will forget that he shaved his beard and get off.
I mean, as is, I figure that at least the Baron did bring a book, like I guess English or German to Persian.
I lost the end of that, Neil.
Like a book that translates, like I don't know, from English or German to to
He's
Persian.
probably doing it from memory. Someone who's fluent in a language like that would.
Mhm.
They might have some reference.
He said that. He said
his
that
reference-
like.
His reference is going to be the Apocrypha, if anything, because the Apocrypha represents everything, every outside source, what they know about this book. So now that he has the book, this is like he wants to just crack it open. So who is staying in the room?
I think Everett will pour himself a glass of whiskey and actually keep watch on the outside of the door while everyone's reading.
I'm kind of still relaxing. My wounds still hurt pretty bad. Took a lot of damage there, so I'm gonna eat a little bit, drink a little bit. Maybe the getting drunk will reduce the pain.
So
And
are you
Edmund's
staying in
gonna
the
stay
stateroom?
kind of like
Probably.
Sorry.
The Baron
so
is
there's also-
overjoyed that if the scholar types are staying, he doesn't seem to mind if anyone else stays either.
Honestly, like,
I can't help but notice the music changed.
Yeah,
Did it?
like the music changed
Oh.
into something creepier.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
My gut feeling, slowly pushes my hand towards my pistol.
Yeah.
no metagaming going on there.
No, my guy, I am a thief of experience.
I see.
I have
Those are your spidey senses tingling.
spidey
right?
senses. Yes.
So Ben, when they start like hunkering down over the books, I'm gonna take surreptitiously take a whole bottle of whiskey in a glass and plant myself outside the door where the door closed. So I'm in the aisleway, in the aisle of the car, just kind of keeping an eye out with my back against the door. I kind of put my coat to the side so that you can see my badge and my revolver at my hip, and I just kind of have like one boot like against the wall and I just have the glass and I'm kind of just sipping at it, keeping an eye
Might
out.
not want to have your revolver visible.
Wait,
Fair enough,
before
yeah,
you
the
go
badge.
out, Salvar's actually going to hand you like a gas lamp or something like that.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, mounting lamp.
case.
Yeah, and I have my Stetson polos. I just want to look like a badass.
In Salvador's case, like between the fact that Vyacheslav is his roommate and he's staying here, like he's not keen on sleeping alone at this point. So he's also going to stay. In his case, like he's just gonna straight up like pull out his revolver and check like how much ammo he's got,
Right.
Like even put some bullets on the quick loader, because like I imagine that back in those days they already had like the quick loader to put the 6 in at the same time.
Right.
It's just gonna be.
Okay, so
That's
what he does is he opens the Whispering Fez and he's going through and he's muttering under his breath as he's reading, muttering under his breath. I'm going to need for everyone except for Everett to make a power roll.
Oh boy.
Thank God I made something. I'm already off to a better.
Hey,
start than last time.
holy hell.
Yeah.
I just lied.
Yes.
That was close.
Close.
Everyone made it.
Hard, extreme,
gents.
hard, regular.
So who had the extreme success?
Vyacheslav.
It would be me.
Okay. So he's kind of reciting over and over and over again, and as he's reading, Salvador, Daniel, and Edmund are kind of like, you notice that they're repeating everything that he's saying as he's reading. So he says something and then they kind of repeat, and then he says something, they kind of repeat.
That's
And he stops reading and he says, "My friend, I'm going to come clean with you. I can't translate this book. I don't have the skills. We're going to have to take this to Demir, but we don't have the time to take it to Demir. We got to know what this thing does. The only way to do that is by experimentation."
Did you not notice what was just? He kind of looks over his shoulder like, what was just happening? Did you?
That it's okay. It's a minor mesmeric effect. They'll be fine. Here's my
Do
suggestion.
I believe him? Is there an insight roll that I can make? Or
You have to make a psychology.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They do appear to be in a hypnotic state, though.
Can I... No, I'm not gonna be able to pass. I'm not gonna be able to pass. No.
Who's in the
So am I totally just going along with Vienna? Yeah.
Well,
no, that makes sense.
You guys are mesmerized, so you're totally not even conscious, technically, at this point.
Vyacheslav, like, his hand moves, like, close to, like, the back of his hip where he's keeping his gun, and he just kind of...
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guys. Hey, snap out of it. And he's keeping eyes on von Hoffler the whole time.
Von Hoffler's like, don't you see? We must experiment. Here's my plan. We take the fez, we put it on one of their heads, and while they're in this mesmeric state, we can then find out what it does.
I think
Then
you
you
were
can
messing
unlock
with
the
things,
secrets.
and like he's very clearly pulling this pistol like off, like slowly off of his hip. He says, "I think you were wanting to mess around with the wrong things here, and I think," and he reaches his hand over and grabs the book, like just very slowly, and he's keeping eyes on him the whole time. I think my friends and I will be leaving now, and we'll be taking the
You
fez
cannot
and...
take the book, and he grabs the book and he pulls the other direction. So you need to make an opposed strength roll.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
Ugh.
Pretty low roll there.
I have a 60 in it. But if it's opposed...
Yeah,
Just
so
a high
you-
roller than you.
It doesn't work quite that way. It's like degrees of success. So
Oh,
when
I
you do
see.
opposed rolls, like my degree of success is to be greater than his degree of success, and mine was
What if
not.
they're the same? Nothing changes?
Then
Or then it's
I
up to your
will have-
discretion.
Yeah, well, that means you'll fail. We all know that.
So I had a regular success?
I don't think Shay caught that. Oh, you just weren't giving me the satisfaction. Yeah, so you barely succeed in pulling, you have both hands. He only has one hand on it. But in order to do it, you have to let go of your gun. So you have a choice. You can either reach for the gun or hold on to the book. He's
Oh.
actively trying to pull the book.
What would Vyacheslav do here? That is
So
an
you
interesting
hear
question.
now the Baron yells. Gendarme! Gendarme! And like 3 gendarmes come out of one of the back rooms
What the hell's a
with their
gendarme?
Police
It's
officer.
like French police.
Oh.
And they come out and their lord is like, this is the man I told you that stole the book from me. Arrest him!
Do I hear
Vyacheslav.
that?
They got guns out. So
Wait, how
yes,
did they
you
come
hear
out?
A commotion inside. They were hiding in one of the back rooms.
Oh.
Does French police have authority in Austria?
They would on the...
Oh,
well,
okay,
would they
never
on the
mind.
train? Oh, he might have brought them with him.
Does it matter?
Yeah,
I guess
I
that's
don't think
game
it
breaking.
really matters.
Never mind.
I mean, whether gendarme or not,
We're
they're
getting
3
off
men
track
with
here.
guns.
You're pointing guns at you.
So, I mean, I guess if as soon as I hear him yell, I pull the book. I don't pull a gun. I pull the book.
Yeah, when I hear the
Men
yell,
come up.
I burst the door open with my gun raised to see what's going on.
So you bust in the door. You see 3 men with pistols aimed at Vyacheslav that look like French gendarmes. Put down your weapon.
You put down yours, you sons of bitches.
This is the... And I
What the
open
hell's
up...
going on here?
I open up the front cover. This is the personal property of Edmund Gore. This has nothing to do with this gentleman here, Mr. von Hoffler.
Well, let the magistrate sort that out.
Von Hoffler, what the hell are you doing? We're your friends here. Tell your men to put their guns down.
He says, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about.
Are we still in trance?
Yeah. He says, this book was stolen from me, made its way to England, and then was sold illegally on auction, and these people have stolen it. It's my property. I have the paperwork to prove it.
That's a damn lie, and you know it, Baron.
The gendarmes are like, put down your weapon, last chance, or we will shoot.
Don't have much choice here.
2v3. 2v3,
All right.
but only one has a gun out.
2v3, but it's murder is murder in any country you're in. So, and murdering a police officer, probably even worse of a crime than it would be today.
Remember,
so,
self-defense doesn't exist with cops.
Henri now appears at the door. Monsieur, what is going on here?
You're a damn son of a bitch there, Von Hoffler. Henri, everything's all right. I kind of carefully, slowly put the gun down on the ground at my feet. I don't kick it over.
Please don't put the head on Henri.
Henri, I do believe you know that this book is our possession, correct?
Well, Monsieur, I think we both know that that book was not acquired legally. I'm sorry.
You motherfucker.
I think we both know that. I must look after the well-being of the Shren and the other passengers. I can't afford to have shooting and people killed on the Shren that might be innocent bystanders. I am sorry. Just do what they say.
Yeah, Vyacheslav looks at Everett like, I've still got a gun. Do I kill somebody? Like, I give him like that kind of look, like, and he'd probably be like, he'd probably know, at least from his facial expressions, like, do I just kill Von Hoffler here and go to jail for it, or do I
give you like a negating gesture, you know, gesture, you know, basically like, you know, this is not who we came, you know, like if we're gonna kill anybody, it's not these people, you know.
Then all Vyacheslav does is he drops the book, but I mean he drops it from up high, you know. And then he very forcefully, intentionally trying to damage it, kicks the book as hard as he can over to the police. Very well.
Oh boy.
Give it your way.
The Baron says, gendarme, escort these men back to their room.
We can find our own way. And
you guys leave.
I'll take a couple of our, you know, our mesmerized fellows by their elbows and.
Well, that's the
like,
thing.
Are we going back to the room now?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much unresponsive at this point, and Henri kind of gives you a look like, come outside.
All right, fellas, let's go. Now they're not like on the ground, right? They're just sort of like.
Yeah, they were in whatever their last position was.
All right.
But if the magistrate is magistrate is going to take care of it, as the gendarmes said, they would take the book with them, correct?
The gendarmes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the book has been returned to its rightful owner.
I thought there was going to be some kind of legal proceeding for this because the magistrate was going to take care of whose actual property it was, because we do have our own evidence that it is Edmund's book.
Well, I think that the legal procedure is the fact that he's a baron and he has you under arrest.
The question,
There's
like,
probably
the only
no
question I have
here either.
I mean, does he
Say
have
again, Jason?
everyone under arrest, or only them two, Vyacheslav and Everett?
Well, right
we're
now,
right
they
now
want to
like,
escort you back to your rooms.
all of
Well,
us.
if they're able to walk, like if we kind of give them prodding and they'll kind of follow where we go, then we take our friends with us.
Yeah.
And we shrug off the help of the gendarmes. Like, I know where my room is.
So, You head back to your rooms, and Henri says, Monsieur, what was all that about? I thought he was your friend.
What was that all about, Henri? You're supposed to back us up in there.
What the hell was that? Suka blade.
I pound my fist into the door in anger. God,
do we still look completely mesmerized at that point?
Once we get away from von Hoffler, we still kind of under this fog, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna last a little while.
Damn it, wake up, would you? Slap.
I've been
Is the
slept
gendarme
enough
left?
the last 24 hours.
I'm sorry.
The gendarme has left, and it's just us with Henri, right?
Yes, they're in von Hoffler's stateroom.
And I assume that Andre is plainly seeing how three of us are completely unresponsive, even after the slap.
Yeah, and Henri doesn't understand what's going on, but he says, Monsieur, what can I do? He came to me with this story. I don't know how preposterous it is. We know that you came by the book by less than legal means. It's just very strange that you asked for me to keep it.
You need
and then
to
he
go.
made these claims.
You need to go into the room. You need to go into that room and you need to look and see what is lying on that bed, or else you will never understand and you won't believe. And if you don't believe us, there are much worse things that are going to happen, especially to you and everyone else aboard this train. And it's not going to be our fault. It'll have been your fault, and it'll have been the gendarme's fault. You make that decision for yourself. As you look, and you see Salvador, Daniel, Edmund, and he just snaps in their faces, do you see what Hoffler has done to them? It is that book. It is that phase. It is this. It is everything about this whole awful situation with Minkef and Kachek, or whatever the fuck his name is, and in von Hoffler, who we thought was with us. Turns out he is not. Will you be with us, Henri? You need to find out. You need to look, or else your life is in danger. And he just plops down on the bed.
Can't argue with him there, Henri. You gotta see it.
Like to be against your rules, but I think you need to go take a look at that room yourself. Fuck your policies. Soon you will not have any policies left to abide by. Because you'll be dead. Or worse.
Okay.
Did you just threaten him?
No?
No, he just
told
warned
him
him about what.
truth. It's what I told him.
It does sound like he threatened him, but
I mean, he's speaking with a Russian accent.
You don't do this, you will die.
make a persuade roll.
It's not going to be good, I promise.
Because if you fail, then he will take it as a threat.
Oh God. I want to push it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I only have a 10 in persuade.
Everett, how good are you at talking?
At persuade, I have a 30.
That's not much better.
I'm much
Do you
better,
want to
but
try and clear it out?
But it's something.
Persuade bot is currently indisposed.
Very much so.
I mean, you gotta admit, that was a damn good argument on my part.
It was very moving, but the
He still
dice
took it
told
as
a different story.
I mean, it doesn't help that, a Russian accent does sound threatening. By default.
Just
Why
makes
Hollywood
people
always
angry.
cast them as the bad guys.
Vyacheslav just kind of looks over at Everett and says, help me out here, Everett.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
I can tell you're taking it the wrong way there, Henri, but we're in desperate straits here. You understand that we thought this man was going to be on our side, but now he looks like he's got the same sort of ill designs that this Menkaf guy has. And from what I'm seeing,
I don't understand. Perhaps if you explain to me exactly what is going on here.
We already
Well,
have. We've
No,
told you.
we
You
have-
have to see. You are the kind of man, Henri, I can tell. You will not believe anything until you see it, until you touch it, until you feel it. Am I wrong about that, Henri?
You are not wrong, monsieur, but you have given vague threats thus far, and
We're not really sure
No,
what it is
that's-
ourselves. It's beyond our ken. It's something supernatural. You understand what I'm saying? If I started spouting out exactly what we saw, you'd think I was a lunatic. So that's all we can do is kind of speak in these vagaries.
all right. I will go.
All right. This way.
He's probably gonna be like,
He
no,
remembers the thing about
you
bringing
stay.
guns.
But I mean,
Neil froze. Can we still hear you, Neil? Okay.
would Everett
Okay.
and Vyacheslav even be allowed to leave? I'm not sure we even would. He'd have to go by himself, wouldn't he?
I mean, it's not like you can escape a moving train, you know?
We're not under arrest, right? Like I said, like I could find our rooms by ourselves, and they let us go back, right?
Yeah, and you're under the custody of
Henri,
Henri.
conductor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the
who is not
conductor.
Henri.
And quite honestly, the Baron got what he wanted.
Right.
Well,
So at this
at
point,
least-
he doesn't care.
Does he have the fez too?
Yeah, he has the fez in the book.
well, at least
All right.
Vyacheslav stopped him from putting the hat on one of us.
Dude,
Yay.
if you had all been mesmerized,
Someone would
things
have
would
that
have been
fez on their
much
head, right?
different.
Yeah, that's what he was aiming for, wasn't it?
Well, the thing is, he knows only Demure can translate the book now. So he wants to just bypass the scholar thing and just
What a dick.
So he doesn't necessarily have bad intentions, he's just stupid.
well, he's
I
understood.
insane. He's insane. I mean, he's insane.
There's no
He's
other way to put it.
cracked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that instead of going insane depressive like Vyacheslav's father and hanging himself, he's gone manic. Insane.
Right. Well, the thing is, yeah, he has the right intentions. He wants the same end goal, but his methodology is
He is, in his
Is
manic
what
state, he is becoming
an insane person
Machiavellian,
would do.
correct?
well. You have to understand, he's already has the ego.
He's already a
He's
Machiavellian.
very
yeah.
smart, and he has all the power and all
There-
the contacts and all the money. He's
There are very
bankrolling
few
this whole
people
thing.
like that who aren't the end justifies the means kind of people. So,
Right. Yep. And he's insane because his occult studies have driven him bonkers. So he's definitely in some ways more dangerous than other people.
Well, as I said, Vyacheslav
terms
tells
of-
us exactly.
Henri, you will want to see. We should go now.
Yeah.
So
we go to
here's
the
my
safe.
question.
Or not the safe.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Vyacheslav.
I already made one amazing roll tonight. It's not gonna happen again, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay,
miss
I
it
want
till
you
you
to
try.
make an idea roll.
Okay, that's just intelligence, right?
That is.
Okay.
Booyah. Death.
Oh my god, did I really? Oh wait,
No, you got it hard.
Okay.
Hard.
I saw 76, not 16.
Yeah, this is the kind of game when the dice are against you. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. You are not sure that the Baron won't continue to try doing what he's going to do, but instead of using one of you,
Ugh.
Fine with
might
me, man.
use
I'm not
anyone
getting paid
else.
to fucking
But
fight some bear.
the problem is, I think the only reason why Mr. Myers is in a coma is because someone who has the ability to keep him in said coma is doing it, and von Hoffler does not have the ability to read that book well enough to keep whatever monster he creates under a coma. And that's what Vyacheslav kind of realizes. In addition to that bit of information there, it's we must act quickly. We must go now, and we've got to get these three woken up. They are necessary for this. Henri, do you have some smelling salts or something?
Shucks.
Let me see.
Do I have to punch Edmund?
Slap him in the face. Stop punching me, please. Seriously.
How much health are you
When I
down
fell down
to?
hit my head. I'm down to 5 out of 9. I bumped my head. Daniel slaps me across the face. You're gonna punch me.
Dude, I fucking beat you ass hard, man. Fucking 2 HP.
Wait, Trevor. I do have one idea, and while it's not the most more upstanding one, it's definitely miles better than the one that the Baron has. So if you wake me up, I can try to smooth things over.
Just be careful, because this is metagaming. Don't tell me anything you can't. Your character can't tell me right now.
And all we can tell you is goo goo gaga.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we're fucked.
Yeah.
Hold it in
Thanks for
until
that,
we
Ben.
figure out how to get you.
Drool runs down my face.
Okay, so his time has elapsed, and you guys start shaking off that dreamlike feeling. You basically wake up, sitting in the room again. You're back in the compartment.
Gentlemen, when did we come back here? Did I pass out again?
There's no time to
God
explain
damn it.
really what happened. Let's just put it this way: von Hoffler is mad. Absolutely fucking mad, and he has the book and he has the fez. And Henri sold us out, but he's going to help us, I think. And Vyacheslav looks over at Henri, right?
I mean, I look at Andre and I'm like, what happened? Wait, Vyacheslav, since you said that there is no time, summarize in 20 words or less what exactly happened and why are we here now?
Perhaps, okay.
20.
Von Hoffler, he was reading from the book. He mesmerized you, intentionally. I tried to take the book from him. He called the police. They came in the room, they arrested
That's too many
us.
words.
I'll give you 20 words. or
Why
less.
did he mesmerize us?
Things have gone from shit to horse shit. That's what's gone on.
He wants to experiment with the fez to figure out how to stop this.
Okay, I have an idea. I know that I shouldn't do this, but I will go talk with the Baron.
You want to
Give me-
light it on
like,
fire.
You guys do whatever you have. No, don't worry.
What if he mesmerizes you, Salvador, and he puts that thing on your head? I will have to shoot you. I mean, I've been
Don't
looking
worry.
forward to doing it. This would actually
Don't
force
worry,
me
he
to
will
do
not
it.
mesmerize me. He will not mesmerize me. Andre, am I
Again.
allowed to go back to
He won't
to
mesmerize
the
you
Baron?
again, you mean?
No. Trust me on this.
I would trust you
Alright, can
if
I
you
go
had
see
something
the
you
Baron?
could control, but you can't control that magic
I'm not trying
crap.
to control anything. I'm not trying to control anything. Give me one moment. Andre, can I go to see the Baron?
I don't think that would be a good idea, Monsieur.
Nor do
I know
I,
that.
Salvador.
I cannot help you in there. It's like his own sovereign state.
Well, I mean, can I at least knock on the door or something and hope that he will...
Not shoot
I
you
don't know.
immediately.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the police will let you back over there.
Well, just... If I'm good at something, it's with talking people. So I believe that if anyone can pull this, it will be me. You guys do whatever you need. I will go one moment. And, like, Salvador will kind of, like, run. Of course, grabbing one of the lamps, just in case that Mancav sends one of his shadows.
Salvador just fucking goes? Like,
Yes.
This is great.
My hero.
And I go with the lamp.
and
I
Vyacheslav is like,
imagine that we both have...
like
You'll
he
see.
calls, he
You'll
just
see.
calls, he calls after you, but like tries not to do it too loud. You didn't take a gun.
I mean, he never dropped his gun. Like,
Oh,
it's
okay.
still, like... in
You
his
still
possession.
have it, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he's gonna go to, von Hoffler's place.
Well, things look like they're going to fucking shit.
Foolish Spaniard.
So Salvador is running the opposite direction. What do the rest of you want to do?
We're going with
I'm going
Henri.
with Salvador. Edmund's like, Salvador, you can't go alone, man. And he takes off after him.
And then Vyasha sounds like, where are you all going?
No, you know, like,
Don't you know to never split the party?
don't worry. Like, I will just turn around for a moment and just say, you know, like, the three of you, because as I'm seeing, like, the three combat characters are staying together, kinda. So I will tell them, you guys do what you need to do. Don't worry, we'll be back and being ourselves. I have an idea. Trust in me.
He seems
No
pretty
fire,
confident.
please. No fire.
There is no fight involved.
I'll make sure. He likes nothing to please.
Oh my god.
Everett, you do know that we totally set the bar on fire the first time we were on the train, right?
Well, if we didn't, now he does.
Ben, oh my god, that was so good.
But yeah, John, you knew that we totally lit the bar on fire the first night we were here, right?
Yes, I remember that.
Okay, good.
We set the bar on fire. No, we
I
didn't set the
enabled it.
ar on fire.
We didn't start this.
All right, so what are the other ones of us here doing?
We didn't spark the fire.
I mean,
So,
like,
so-
Salvador will say,
Daniel is not going to go with them. He has considered, he's not being paid for this. He is a pay-to-work kind of guy. The man paid him to bring the book this far. He took the book. He's already been paid. He considers it, that's the end. So he's going to relax on his bed and he's thinking about just taking the train back to England next chance he gets.
Pretending this never happened.
Yeah. So Edmund's
Right
gonna
now it's
kind of
fun.
hot step it up to Salvador, and kind of catch him up and be like, "All right, old chap, what's your plan? Let me know then. What you planning on doing?"
Very simple.
We
He
start
wants,
fire.
for what he said, he wants someone to wear the hat so that he can experiment on them, for what Vyacheslav said. Mr. Myers already has the hat on. Why don't we use the Baron, why don't we tell him that there's already one person with a fez on, right? And, use his influence and his power. I mean, he's an Austrian. We all know that Austrians don't like the term. So maybe he can get away, so that he can experiment with Mr. Myers, as that man is already dead. Might as well give the Baron what he wants without risking any innocent lives.
Not a bad plan. I'll cover you.
Bad
Please don't set
feeling
anything on
about
fire.
this.
I'm pretty sure we already told him that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but see, Salvador right now is like, I have to roleplay in this state of mind.
Salvador
Like,
right
you
now
don't
is
say
like,
no to
don't
a
tell
Baron."
me the odds.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So you're
So-
saying there's a chance?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel is done.
I'm
Right?
done. I've had it.
You're like,
No.
I've checked out.
I've been
over this.
entranced. I've been attacked. My guts are still hurting. I've almost been shot at, apparently. And I'm not being paid enough for this. I'm a thief. I get paid to do things. And this is no longer worth my time. So I'm just going to relax. And if maybe something happens, I'll help. But at the moment, I'm still pretty in pain here from a couple hours ago, almost dying. So fuck that.
Vyacheslav is determined to get Henri and Everett in sight of this darn creature,
Yep.
so that to get at least Henri on our side. Because right now I feel like he's really on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I feel like this is where Ben's gonna be like, I feel like this is a good place to stop.
Yeah, this is the perfect place to stop, actually.
Oh,
God
Jesus.
damn it, cliffhangers!
I don't think I could handpick a better place.